Hi everyone. Today I have an exciting interview with Donovan Woods, a senior SDET and ASTQA Advisory Board of Emerging Leaders in Software Testing member. He has 19 years of experience and plenty of ISTQB certifications. Donovan, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. So, as I mentioned, you're an extremely experienced software tester. So, can you tell us about how long you've worked in software testing, how you got started, and what your current role involves?
Sure. Uh, so I have been working in software testing for 19 years, and how I got started is kind of a fun story. My brother-in-law was working as a DBA at Teleflora, and he said, "Well, I had just finished school, and initially I was a computer science major, and I ended up switching to psychology." Um, anyway, my brother-in-law said, they're hiring QA and you don't need to know anything. And I said, well, that's great. That's great. So I applied, and that's how I ended up in QA. Somehow things just fit. So yeah, I've been doing QA for 19 years. I don't really have the technical skills of a full stack developer, but it's somewhere in between. So it's been a good fit for me. And as far as my current role, I work at Oris, which was recently purchased by Acrisure from Heartland, from which belongs to Global Payments. So I used to be working with Heartland, and I'm still working with all the same people, uh, but now we're Oris. So I'm a lead SDET. I, uh, I lead a team that develops test automation, basically.
So you mentioned that you got into QA with no experience, which I feel like nowadays you read Reddit and everyone says there's no chance you don't get a job in QA if you don't have, an entire stack, test automation, all these different things. And so
Right.
you now obviously have quite the impressive resume of years working, different jobs, and you also have earned several ISTQB certifications. So that includes you have foundation level, test manager, test analyst, AI testing with generative AI, just to name a few. So tell me, in your 19 career, how did you get involved with ISTQB and what motivated you to keep earning these different certifications?
Well, one thing that I learned as a consultant with software development technologies way back when, 2008 to 2013, uh, was that there's a foundation level of knowledge that testers really need to acquire, and it's not when I started at Teleflora, the initial thing that what happened basically is they handed me a like a 200-page printout of line by line, step by step test cases to go through. And, if you're really going to do quality engineering the right way, that's not the way to do it, right? Like, maybe you can hand off these repetitive tasks to junior QAs or now to AI. Uh, but you aren't going to get anywhere as far as developing your career and your skill set, uh, without earning that knowledge. I was fortunate enough to have worked on the same team as one of the ASTQB directors, Randy Rice, and he actually lives here in the Oklahoma City area, and I was able to meet him. And so a couple years later, I got in touch with him because my supervisor was asking me, what could I do as far as formalizing some education around the QA process, because I was brought in to the third stop on my career run basically was LexisNexis, where I was brought in to kind of help establish a QA process and QA department that didn't previously exist. Uh, so as part of that, my supervisor at the time, like I said, he asked me to get some more formalized education on the matter so that we can make sure that we did things the right way. And that was good advice. I got with Randy, and I took the I actually did the technical test analyst, advanced level technical test analyst uh, syllabus. Did the course with Randy. I actually he was teaching a course in Oklahoma City for American Fidelity at the time, and American Fidelity was kind enough to let me sit in, even though I was not employed by them. So yeah, I went to the American Fidelity campus and sat through a week of training with Randy, and really got a lot of good insight. And at the time, I hadn't even taken the foundation level. I mean, I had been working for about 5 or 6 years in QA at that point, so I did have some knowledge, but I didn't have the foundation level just yet. So I had to take the foundation level before I could take the exam. So what I did at the time was I took the syllabus and I put it in PDF. Well, took the PDF format syllabus and put it in an Android app that would read it to me. And when I would commute to work back and forth, I would listen to the syllabus. That's how I studied for the and I got a 92%, so I'm pretty happy with the results for that.
Yeah, it clearly worked.
Yeah, for the foundation level. Now I know today the foundation level exam has been revamped since then, and it is a little bit more difficult. It doesn't have quite as high a pass rate. So you probably, might need to study a little bit more. Might need to actually read the syllabus. But yeah, so once I passed the foundation level, passed the technical test analyst, I wanted to give myself a leg up for career advancement and such, and also to expand my skills. So I took the test analyst and the test manager, I believe it's called test management now, exams. I also had Randy. Randy had some online course material for one of those for the test manager exam. So I went ahead and signed up for that and worked through that. And then since then, the most recent stuff, I did a certification or two, here and there in between, but basically I wanted the full advanced level certification, what designation. But after that, yeah, I just did one or two here or there. But now, I mean, the omnipresent, what's the word I'm looking for? The way that AI is just drilling into everything. Honestly, this time last year, I didn't think that AI was going to be taking over jobs in the next couple of years. I thought it was still a ways off. As soon as I got exposed to Claude Code, everything just completely changed. My vision of where the industry is and how, skills that I need and how to maintain a white collar job, with all this AI influx, because it's just so incredibly high quality and powerful. It just knocked my socks off as far as, when I was introduced to that particular tool, and other tools are catching up to it now. So anyway, I went ahead and did the last year I did the AI testing certification, which helped me kind of learn how AI systems are designed and how to test and manage and how to deal with different quality characteristics of those. And that was really useful, because I feel like, there will come a time in my future where I will be on a team that's developing AI. That I don't think that's out of the range of possibility. So, but also this year I went ahead and took the generative AI, which has been directly impactful on the teams that I work on now. We actually are implementing a system where basically we handle generated testware. So our test engineers are basically orchestrating skill and agent development and runs and the products of those, the testware products of those. We aren't really even doing the tests ourselves or even writing the code ourselves so much. We do here and there, and we fix things and identify where AI is messed up, but it's largely an orchestrative uh, sort of scenario now, which is 180 degrees from where we were 2 years ago. AI was just kind of pie in the sky at that time. So yeah, it's been really useful. I think one of the concepts that I just hadn't even thought about that is expressed in the syllabus for the generative AI was the concept of the meta prompting concept, right? Meta prompting, uh, that was very meta. It was very much like uh, because it's interesting because AI really knows a lot about itself. Um, a surprisingly really strong knowledge on itself. So it's able to think of if you do meta prompting and you have AI help you develop the prompt for the output. Uh, you're basically doing it in 2 steps, and but it's really useful because AI knows where it can screw up. AI knows the places that it might miss things, so it can really help you develop a comprehensive prompt that'll be useful. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I've just been working, trying to get more people on my team Claude Code access because it's really a multiplier, and and that's just something that I'm continuously working with executive leadership to try and push to the forefront.
Yeah, I think your experience talking about last year, where AI was versus this year it is so different. I mean, Claude Code, the newest ChatGPT like 5.6 Soul, things like this. I mean, the advancement is kind of scary how fast it is coming. But I think you bring up a great point, using the skills like the meta testing with the testing with generative AI. And you do have the AI assurance pro designation because you have both of them. Recently, ISTQB just released AI testing 2.0. So I think that's, they're all great tools, and it's great to hear you talk about how you use them and how, this is really changing your testing. And just to dive a little deeper on that, so like you mentioned last year, you're thinking, okay, AI is kind of this pie in the sky. Now you're like, wow, it's here. I need these AI skills. My team needs access to Claude Code. So what do you think the future of AI and software testing will look like over these next couple of years?
Well, as I mentioned, orchestration I think is a good word for it. I saw something earlier. I posted on LinkedIn about how in one person's opinion, this AI transformation that's hitting the industry is very similar to the way that the shift from assembler uh, coding to more defined object-oriented coding languages was. At first, people didn't trust those higher level languages. They didn't trust that it would do exactly what you know what they could do manually in assembler or assembly rather. So but over a period of time, people got more and more comfortable with it, and it just became a tool that was working in the back end. It was just part of the process, right? And I thought that was a really strong analogy. Um, and we're kind of redeveloping our process around an AI centered one at this point, and I think if your team isn't doing that right now, honestly, I don't see that your team's at least the methodology won't be replaced within the next few years. Now there are certain industries, like government and safety critical industries where maybe things will be a little bit slower to adapt. You know, won't trust the AI quite as much, but even that is moving very swiftly. Like defense work with AI right now is kind of honestly scary. uh, to think of some of the decisions that AI is able to make in some of these new technologies, but it's going to happen whether it's our country or somewhere else. So anyway, uh, all that to say, yeah, I think it's really transforming the industry, and I think it's kind of it's shocking to me how quickly this happened, because like I said, you know, a year or two ago, I could generate an image, I could generate, you know, some, you know, maybe a paragraph if I wanted to write something, you know, or even a whole paper. You know, new students that were using it to cheat. Uh, but you know, I uh, I didn't, because I wasn't a student. But anyway, but yeah, those were the kinds of things that we saw it doing in the past, and it was like, okay, this is cool. You know, a year ago I had Copilot, and it would generate little code snippets for me and save me a little bit of time. You know, especially when I'm doing repetitive tasks, it would generate code snippets for me, and so that might save me like 20% time savings, right? But now it's like you can literally do just exponentially more. And where this is really scary is that when it comes to software development, the developers are already pushing out using these tools, and they're pushing out vastly larger you know, scope changes, and QA needs to keep up with that. And it's going to be very difficult to do so if you're doing things, you know, all manually, whether it's coding or automation or not. It's essentially impossible to keep up with that level because there's so much risk involved. So yeah, that's kind of my vision. Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are some great points. We interviewed a tester a month or two ago, and he similarly was like, you need to know how to test with AI and use AI into your testing, or else you're going to fall behind. And you're echoing that point. And I think your great point about, you know, developers are using this AI and they're producing these mountains of code. And yeah, someone has to test them, right? I mean, and unfortunately, we don't have 1,000 Donovans that can all go and test it. But I mean, if they're putting out, there was an interesting article about the technical debt created because of how much devs are using, you know, Claude Code, ChatGPT, whatever
Right.
coding agent you'd like to do. And how there is so much technical debt because of the fact that people can't test it in like fast enough to really find all the bugs. So I think those are
That's
some
becoming
very,
a huge
very
exactly. That's becoming a
yeah.
huge problem at my place of work. You know, that's something I was referring to earlier. You know, we're really working with trying to get executive leadership's buy-in to get us all
Mhm.
access. Well, it's already showing its teeth, because we're getting people saying that we're slowing things down. We're not, you know, the QA work is behind where the development
Mhm.
work is, without revealing anything about, you know, the inner workings of my company. I think it's a you know, it's a very universal characteristic that's happening right now. QA that does the normal QA process, whether it's manual or automated, if they're not working with AI, they are falling behind, and things are just stacking up. You know, release after release after release worth of work needs to be checked, and there's not
Mhm.
enough time to do it. So, so yeah, you need to scale your QA tooling as you scale your development tooling. Otherwise,
Mhm.
you end up with that you know, that deficit.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, scaling your tooling at the same time, because or else, yeah, QA does become that bottleneck where you have upper management being like, why aren't we getting these releases? And you're like, we can't do it fast enough. I mean, it is insane to see these things code something, how quickly they do it compared to, you know, what a human was doing a couple years ago. Um,
Yeah,
and granted, while they seem perfect, these AI tools still do create bugs like humans do, and they have to be found. You've given a lot of great advice, and I really want to narrow it in. So obviously, people are always trying to get into software testing, software quality assurance, And so I think I know what you're going to say, but what advice would you give to someone who's just now entering software testing or trying to advance their career? Maybe they're a junior tester, they're trying to move up.
It's interesting because my advice in the past would have been very different. My
Hmm.
advice in the past would have been you need to learn the basics of object oriented programming, probably do some training in Selenium, uh, and then maybe work on your CTFL, right?
Hmm.
Um, but my advice today is different. Uh, Today, the entry level positions for coding, especially coding test automation, they're all essentially being taken by AI. So you are going to, I don't know what the real answer is for getting your foot in the door, but technical knowledge is certainly one way to do that. But I also think you need to have generative AI skills before you can, really get your foot in the door in an entry level position. If you haven't worked with them before, you don't know how they work. You don't know the inner workings of them, or how to set up agents and skills. You're going to be behind, and you'll be passed over for someone who does know how those things work. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, and uh, I think you make a very good point that if you don't know about agents and skills, how to set that up, someone who does will be the next person. And knowing generative AI now is at an all-time peak of necessity. So thank you so much for your time today, Donovan. These have been super insightful. I'm sure people are very glad to hear your thoughts on this. As an experienced tester who's, see that transformation from a 300-page book on what to test exactly to, using generative AI. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Christian. Have a good one.